This podcast is brought to you by Jupiter Medical Center, rated #1 for quality, safety, and patient experience. Jupiter Medical Center is your choice for world-class healthcare. With state-of-the-art facilities and leading-edge technologies, their award-winning physicians provide the highest caliber of care for the community. Jupiter Medical Center is proud to announce the opening of the all-new Johnny and Terry Gray Surgical Institute featuring the latest in innovative surgical care. To learn more, visit them at jupitermed.com.
All right, so welcome to today's episode. Welcome to the Palm Beach North podcast. My name is Noel Martinez, and I am so excited to have my friend Sarah Cohen here today. Sarah is an amazing attorney who's dedicated to advocating for foster children here in Palm Beach County. She's also an amazing entrepreneur. She started 2 companies, Sarah Slow Jam and Pineapple Island Company, which we're going to hear a little bit about. She's also heavily engaged in the county and in the community. She's active with Leadership Palm Beach County and the Junior League of Palm Beach County. So I am beyond delighted to have you here on the show. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you, Noel. I'm really excited to be here.
So Sarah, deep roots. You have very, very deep roots here in Palm Beach County, specifically West Palm, right?
Absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit about that. Where did you grow up and what were you like as a kid?
I grew up just up the road from here in North Palm Beach. I actually learned to drive on this part of Dixie Highway going to a Temple Bethel on Sunday mornings. But I like to say I'm 3rd generation West Palm Beach or Palm Beach County. My dad grew up here. He went to Forest Hill for high school. And my paternal grandmother actually grew up in West Palm as well. So I like having deep roots. My great-grandparents moved to Palm Beach County in the 1920s, and they set up a produce market in Flamingo Park. It was called Trio Produce Market.
Wow.
And so I think that's how we set down roots, and that's how the Cohens showed up in Palm Beach County.
So tell us, what were you like as a kid?
In a word, I would say our childhood with my brother and my sister was outdoors. We were outdoorsy kids. We were on the boat, in the pool, riding bikes. My mom loves to tell the story that until I was 6, I only thought that cartoons came on hotel TVs, which I think is a parenting win for them. But they were adamant that we were outside exploring and just being really active.
That's a great part. It's a great area in Palm Beach County to be able to be outside and enjoying it. Talk to me about your brother and sister. You mentioned them. So what are they like? What are they doing now?
They're wonderful. I'm the oldest of 3. Sam is also an attorney in the area. He lives with his family in North Palm Beach. And my sister is in Boston with her husband, and she's about to start her 4th year of becoming an OBGYN. So we're very, very proud of her.
Awesome. And you talked about your parents too. Tell me about your parents. What were they like?
They were, Noel, just tremendous role models. My mom, I think, was one of the first people in my life that I realized you don't just have to wear one hat. She first started her career as a nurse, and throughout her whole life, she's kept her nursing license because it's something good to have just to be able to fall back on. But she also got her MBA, and she got into hospital administration. And through several iterations of her life, she wound up retiring from FAU up at the Honors College as the vice president of development. So she, went from nursing into administration, into fundraising. And I think at the end, it was very meaningful for her. She did not have a traditional college education. She went to what they call the PBJC at the time, good old peanut butter and jelly college. And it was so meaningful to her to help provide scholarships for students who maybe wouldn't have otherwise had that opportunity to have that traditional college experience up in Jupiter.
Wow. All right. And then your dad. Tell me about your dad.
My dad's incredible. Unfortunately, he passed in August, and he's deeply missed. But he was so proud to be an orthopedic surgeon in his hometown. It was a massive practice that he spanned really the week I was born. He opened his practice on Flagler. Great planning. And he loved being in his, he treated people he went to high school with. He treated his fishing buddies. He treated everybody. And it was just such a point of pride for him. And he worked out that if you couldn't pay, he accepted coconut pie from the Bahamas. He accepted swordfish. So I think as a role model for me and my siblings, it showed us if you find something you're really passionate about, you have to go all in. And that was him. He loved medicine.
Wow. He sounds like an amazing man. Tell me a little bit. So you grew up here. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Benjamin. I went all the way through. They called it the 14-year club at the time, pre-K all the way through 12th grade.
14-year club.
Yes.
Tell me, you've got a pretty interesting college experience too. So tell me about your college years.
I went to George Washington up in Washington, D.C., and that's just a place where people are so passionate. I mean, there's an issue. There could be a sea slug or a tree frog or some position, and somebody has devoted their whole life to saving this thing or this cause or this issue. DC is just a spectacular place to be a young adult and to learn and to grow. I studied abroad in Spain my junior year and realized I really like studying abroad. I think everyone should travel if they can. I mean, if you can't travel internationally, travel domestically, just meet other people, talk to them, hear their experiences. It's life-changing.
Where in Spain?
I was in Alicante. It's near Valencia.
Okay. Wow.
It's beautiful. It's
I
on
love
the
Spain.
coast.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a lot like Florida, and I liked it for a lot of the same reasons, that it's beautiful as a Mediterranean style architecture on the beach, oranges, all the good things in life.
Tell me about Tel Aviv University, because you studied there too.
I did.
How did that work out?
So after college, I thought I wanted to become a lawyer, but I wasn't quite ready to commit because in my mind, it felt like you graduated, you went to law school, then you were a lawyer, and that was the rest of your life. You know, the wisdom of a 21-year-old. So I found a program at Tel Aviv University specifically designed for people who were not Israeli, so Americans, Canadians, to come in and get your master's at Tel Aviv University for 2 years. And the program placed you in a school in Tel Aviv. So you were teaching English, getting a master's degree. So that's what I did for 2 years between 2005 and 2007.
So you're an attorney. So what inspired you? Like, did you always know you wanted to be an attorney?
Like a lot of attorneys, I sat in chemistry class in college and said,
That's not for me.
This isn't going to work. And, I talked to my parents. I said, listen, your dream of having a doctor child, you got 2 other kids, like try really hard for them, but it's not going to be me. And they were very understanding. And that summer I interned with somebody who did estate planning. And it just opened my mind that there's so many ways to help people. And while that wasn't the exact area of law I ended up going into, it piqued my curiosity about law school and that as a possible career path.
So I mentioned earlier that you work for the Legal Aid Society, which is an amazing organization. Not a lot of people know what the Legal Aid Society does. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, I don't know how much time you have, but we can talk legal aid all day. The Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County is phenomenal. It's at least 24 different projects that all have different focus areas. I am between 2 juvenile projects. I work for the Foster Children's Project and the Juvenile Advocacy Project, and they really go hand in hand. In Palm Beach County, it's very special. If you are 0 to 11, and unfortunately you've gone into foster care, so you're not staying with a neighbor or you're not staying with your grandparents, but licensed foster care, you get an attorney from legal aid to represent you and your siblings through the course of your time in the system. And that's really powerful because that's not a given elsewhere in the state. Mom gets an attorney, dad gets an attorney, you have the Department of Children and Families, you have the guardian ad litem, but not always, the kid doesn't always get an attorney. And that's a big deal to hear what they want. This is their life that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. The sister project is called Juvenile Advocacy Project, is very similar, but doesn't have that age cutoff, and they don't have to be in licensed care. We're very lucky in Palm Beach County. We have an amazing bench, and the juvenile bench, I think, is second to none. And they've been trained over time to say, you know what, I don't know exactly what's going on here, but I think this kid needs an attorney. And so they'll appoint us, and that's what I do.
No, go ahead.
The overarching goal is permanency.
Okay. So how does someone like Sarah Cohen end up at Legal Aid Society?
I volunteered there, actually. I volunteered there, and I found an amazing mentor. Her name is Susan Hendricks, and she first was involved in the education department. And so I worked with her there, and then she moved on to the Foster Children's Project, and an opportunity came up. And I realized how special this was. My bosses were so smart when they created the program that we have our own social workers, because I am executing certain things in the courtroom, but I know my limitation of watching an interaction and say, hey, what are we really looking at? And somebody with a different expertise can say, oh, you know what, this mom's not quite there yet, or you know what, this family's good to go. We can get out of their lives, which is an amazing feeling, knowing that we've helped strengthen a family and then can move on.
It's got to feel good to do what you do.
It does. I like to say there are good days, there are bad days, and there are tequila days. But no, knowing that you've participated in an adoption and you helped a forever family come together, I mean, that's really powerful stuff.
Is there a significant like story that just has really made an impact on you? Like, can you tell us about that?
I can. We'll call her Abby just to protect her.
Got it, of course.
Abby was 12 years old, and she had been living with her grandparents with her 2 younger brothers. Unfortunately, mom was a pretty serious drug addict and had been for years before. As if, you know, things had been going okay, grandma passed away. And grandpa was just overwhelmed by having these 3 kids. And, you know, we understand that kids can be a handful. Unfortunately, Abby had missed about 50 days of school. She was starting to pick up some criminal charges. And this is really 12 years old, can be a cusp of which way is your life going to go. And she came into the system and she got an amazing foster home, just spectacular foster home that was so supportive. And something that you see a lot is these kids who are what we call parentified. They're used to being adults. They're, you know, having to parent their younger siblings. They're figuring out where their meals are coming from. They hate getting put into foster care because this is completely different than the life they've been living.
You have to grow up way too early.
Way too early, but then it's hard to scale it back. And for 6 weeks, whatever reason, 6 weeks that seems to be the number, they hate it and they rebel against it and they test everybody. They're testing the teachers and the therapists and their lawyers and everyone in. And about 6 weeks, something kicks in. I get to be a kid. I don't have to figure out where food's coming from. You know, I just have to go to school, do my homework and some chores. And in that time, she started working at Stables. It was a foster home out in Wellington. So she was mucking stalls. I mean, very humbling work, but it taught her accountability and it taught her responsibility. And she became part of a team. And it was incredible to see this evolution happen within her. All of a sudden, she started talking about, well, could I go to college? And I said, you could absolutely go to college. Let's talk about that. But before that, she said, I want to be adopted by this home. And so my job is to craft a strategy for her. So we talked about that because you can't just say that once and, you know, we go running out the door to achieve it. But to make sure that that's a really heavy conversation, I had to start with her mom. And it was hard and it was emotional, but she presented that she loved her mom and she would always love her mom, but she saw this life had other opportunities. Mom needed some time to process that because that's a really heavy thing to hear. Yeah. But in the end, she, what we call signed surrender, she voluntarily terminated her parental rights. Abby ended up being adopted by this incredible foster family. And she thrived as a young woman. And to think that she was this kid who was missing 50 days of school, you know, could have had a really different childhood and adult life. And but for the intervention and the supports, turned around to be this incredible person who is now a productive member of society.
I was going to ask you, do you still talk to Abby?
Every now and then I get a letter. Sometimes I'll get postcards or like a Christmas card. My favorite is if I get Halloween cards from clients who have been adopted or reunified. There's just something really happy about seeing kids that are happy and healthy. And that's really the root of it, is knowing that with the right services, the right teacher, the right intervention, the right medication, we could turn this, you could be looking at a completely different kid in 6 months.
Yeah, that's amazing. It gives me goosebumps just hearing that story. So let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Right? You are an amazing entrepreneur. You've started 2 awesome companies, Sarah Slow Jam and Pineapple Island Company. Tell us about both of those companies. We could talk about them separately because I know they're 2 different companies, but tell me about them. Tell me about them.
Absolutely. So Sarah Slow Jam is the older one. I've had that one and we just celebrated 4 years. It really goes back. I was waiting for my bar results. And I was told I maybe wasn't that nice at the time and needed a hobby. I needed an outlet. It's a very stressful time when you're waiting to find out if you're a lawyer or not. And I helped move my sister up into her dorm up in New York City. And as a thank you, she took my mom and me out to one of those tiny little New York spots, you know, like 6 tables. And they had a fig Riesling jam. Noelle, when I tell you I almost licked the plate, I almost licked the plate. It was so good. And I came home.
What'd they serve it with?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
That
I just remember
amazing.
the fig Riesling jam being so good. I came home and I said, I have to figure out how to do this. And I'd always liked cooking. My family really enjoys cooking. We love huge Thanksgivings, huge Passovers. And so I just started teaching myself on good, safe food practices. And it tied so quickly into, we have an amazing agricultural community here. I like to say I have family in Pittsburgh, and when it's February, they are not picking strawberries the way we are down here.
Oh, yeah.
My parents had a mango tree, so we worked out a free fruit for free labor mango picking program. And then I was making mango jam. So for 10 years, it was a hobby, and I gave it away. Nobody's sad to get free jam. It was a lot of fun. At the end of 2019, I said, what would it look like if I sold it? And Florida is very helpful that you can make certain things in your home kitchen under what they call cottage law, which is super helpful as an incubator.
I would never know that.
You start looking, you start going, I like going to farmers markets. So you start talking to people and you get a sense, and they spell it out really clearly. You can make X, Y, and Z in your home. Baked goods are one thing. It's generally things that are not likely to make people sick. So not dairy, not meat products, but in your home kitchen, you can make jelly and jam. So I did that. And on March 7th, 2020, I officially opened for business, which now seems laughable knowing what we know now. But it was all of a sudden we were home all the time. So each meal became like a Top Chef challenge, and I was taking photos and posting online. And in a way, it was a very creative outlet to all the chaos, I think, around us at that time in 2020.
Are you ready to bring your ribbon cutting to the next level? Introducing the ribbon cutting ceremony recap video, your key to unforgettable event marketing. We know that each business is unique, and that's why we offer tailored solutions, starting with our basic package, where you can commemorate your event with elegance even without the video. But why stop there? Our comprehensive event coverage and premier business launch packages include the game-changing recap video, capturing every vibrant moment of your grand opening, from the ribbon cutting to impactful speeches, all in a stunning 1-minute video. Best of all, your event's highlights won't just linger in the memories of those who attended. Through our partnership with the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce, your video will be featured across multiple platforms. Expect to see your business shine on social media, in newsletters, and our website, and even the acclaimed Palm Beach North podcast. Don't let your special day fade away. Make it a monumental one with the ribbon cutting ceremony recap video and reach audiences beyond your wildest dreams. Ready to elevate your grand opening? For pricing and more details, email katie@pbnchamber.com or visit our website for more information. Make your event unforgettable. We love Sarah Slow Jam. Like we have it, at the Palm Beach North Chamber. We're very fortunate to have a great relationship with you, and you provide the little jars for a lot of our events. And we just love this stuff. I mean, it's amazing. If you haven't had it, you better, because it's really, really, really good stuff. Tell us about Pineapple Island Company.
Yes. So similar, around the same time, I was taking a quilt block of the month class. I had a bug in my bonnet that I wanted to learn how to quilt. I have no idea why, but I'd always really liked fabric. I would collect it when I would go traveling. I was in Uganda and I was at these markets and I was buying things. I had no plan. And so I was like, okay, I've got to figure out something to do with these because it's wonderful. And it's its own artistry to get these beautiful batik dyed fabrics. So I started at Joanne right on North Lake Boulevard, taking a block of the month. Unfortunately, the pandemic came, so we had to stop doing that. But by then I had enough skills that I wanted to learn and keep doing it. And around 2020, 2021, I started to learn a little bit of woodworking from my uncle Bentley, who might be the coolest person I've ever met. He's had 1,000 careers. He is a master of everything he does. He can bake you the best popover of your life. But he was teaching me how to make cutting boards. And so I started to see, once you get that entrepreneurial bug, that you said, okay, I've already done this one business. I know, what you need to do on Sundays.
I can do this. It's easier. The second time around, it's going to be easier, right?
I don't really have to worry so much about any food safety issues. What would it look like if I did tropical home decor, focusing on really fun quilts and some light woodworking? And it really sort of took off from there. I like working with my hands. I think it's a really creative release. I like being a lawyer, but nobody ever looks and be like, that brief is just beautiful. That font choice, my goodness, who would have thought of Times New Roman? Whereas when you get to say, hey, I made this, I picked these colors and patterns to go together, it's very rewarding.
So how do you do it? Like how do you become an effective attorney? How are you an effective attorney? And then at the same time, you're running two businesses. Like there's no way there's enough time in the day to do that. How do you balance that?
I think it's knowing there's a season for everything. I mean, we're just coming out now of our busy season with the farmers markets and everything like that. So that's a time for me to maybe focus on the quilting a little bit more, which is really nice.
That makes sense.
That there's a balance to it, and also time out for yourself. What family time or whatever you need. Because I always think you cannot serve from an empty cup, and if you get to that point where it's not fun, then you need to take a step back and sort of revisit what's going on. So I think understanding there's a seasonality to it. And good time management. It's not the fanciest answer and but it's what it takes. And sometimes you do have to work, really late into the night to meet that deadline. But if you want to check all those boxes, you have to be consistent about that.
So what's your ultimate goal for Sarah Slow Jam and Pineapple Island Company?
Sarah's Slow Jam is global jam domination. That's
I've heard you
that's what
say
we're
that
going
before.
for. I would love to get into more grocery stores, and saying that this summer is a little bit slower. That's really a time for me to connect with business owners to say, would you like this for your next season? Let's see how this goes. That's where I really would like to grow with that. I pivoted about 2 years ago from making it myself in my kitchen to using what's called a co-packer, which is an amazing thing that they make your recipes and they ship it to you by the case. I just got a shipment yesterday, and it's this 18-wheeler that comes down my street, and I always see the driver and they're looking confused because they're looking for a warehouse, and I'm out there waving, saying, "Oh no, here I am. It's just me." But it gives me great capacity to scale, and I'm really excited about that.
So tell me about the process of getting into a grocery store. What's that like?
So it's a lot connections, right? It's connections and
relationships.
conversations. Absolutely. And so I've started with some of the smaller ones like Cotton Capers in North Palm Beach, and the Cheese Shop in Lantana, and Schur's Chocolates in Boynton Beach. Those, they're small, they're locally owned. There's a little bit less red tape to get in there. So you offer samples. Hey, this is my product. I believe in it. I would like you to try it, share it with your friends and family, see what the feedback is. And, we can go from there. And that seems to be working out. The other angle is using it as a gift because it represents Florida. I mean, you've seen our logo. There's an orange, a lemon, a lime. So trying to go somewhere like the Loggerhead Marine Life Gift Center they've been huge supporters, and I'm very grateful for that. So I think for people who live here, trying to get into grocery stores, for people who are visiting, maybe trying to get into more spots like that to have availability.
What about Pineapple Island Company? What's next for that?
I'm still just having a lot of fun with it, and I sort of joke that it's really to cover my fabric habit, but I'm having a great time with it, and we're going to see. I don't think it has quite the same ability to scale, but they're original pieces, they're heirloom quality pieces. So I think seeing where it goes, making these pieces, I've made them for all the new generation of my family. They have baby quilts, and that's something they'll hopefully have, their whole lives, and we'll see where it takes off.
All right. So community involvement. I mentioned earlier, you're involved in a lot of different things, everything from the Junior League of the Palm Beaches to the Palm Beach County Bar Association, the Florida Association of Women Lawyers. I mean, I could go on and on and on. The Jewish Women's Foundation. And of course, my favorite, the Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce, right? Why do you do that? Why are you so engaged in the community? What is it about? And how does that help your business?
I think to start, it's just the most natural thing. Going back to my dad and him practicing medicine in the area, he would get calls from friends who said, "Oh, I got this fishing hook. Can you?" And they would come over, Noel, to our kitchen table, and we would set up a little table and cleanse everything, and he would stitch his friends up right on the kitchen counter. So the idea of giving back and not just being only 9 to 5 and in the office, that was our life. I mean, he got a pager call, dinner was over, we had to go. But it taught us the importance of being part of that community and what that is when we are here for each other and we are accountable for each other. So my work with Junior League, I think Junior League is just so highly of them. It's volunteer women who are training other women to become just the best and leaders in their community, whether that's leaders in Junior League, leaders in their church or their synagogue or within their family. I think that's just spectacular. And they have an education and training program, which I helped run. And I think that's partly what I like so much about Palm Beach North and moving that to the Women in Business Council is this idea of getting to a certain place in your life, turning around, extending a hand and said, "Hey, I just did this. How can I help you? What steps do we need to take to bring you up here as well?" So the work with Junior League, I think is just invaluable. As for Palm Beach North, I think so highly of the mentorship opportunities that have become available. I am a 2-time graduate of the Mentorship Academy, and each experience was so different, and I'm grateful for both of them and the mentors that I had through that process.
Let's talk about those mentors. Tell
Sure.
me how they helped you and helped you with your businesses.
Absolutely. My first one was Alex Slayton, and she was just wonderful. I mean, she's so involved with the Women in Business Council. So I think she showed me what it is that you're balancing, a full-time job, your family, and all of that to be doing that. And that this was something so important to her that she was willing to turn around and take time to be a mentor. I was still you're always figuring things out as a business owner. You're a perpetual problem solver. But she was very helpful to me and showing me that and balancing the community. So a time management aspect, I think, was really important. My second mentor was Colleen Hawkins, and she was very, very patient. Social media does not come really naturally to me.
For real, I think you're great at it.
Thank you. Credit must go to Colleen for
Okay,
that.
all right.
I mean, she was showing me how to do reels. And sometimes it takes that just such a small thing, but someone to sit right next to you and say, hey, you click on this, and you click on this, and then you get it. But it can be intimidating, or you do the wrong thing, or you post the doofus face of yourself or whatever it is. And then you don't feel like you want to do that, or you don't have the confidence. So we cut our losses on TikTok, but she really helped me out on Instagram.
Good. So what does the future look like from a legal standpoint, from your, as in your attorney role? What do you see yourself doing? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Hopefully still at Legal Aid. I mean, I love the work that they do there. I think it's so important to be in the community. I have 2 divisions, really. I represent all the foster kids in Belglade, Pahokee, and South Bay, and then I have clients in the West Palm area. So I think whatever we can do to strengthen the community, and that's something Legal Aid is really great about, is getting their employees to partake in maybe not what's classically defined in their job, but it's the next step. If that helps the community and helps our clients, then it's in line with our mission. And Bob Burdish he's an institution unto himself.
He's the best.
But so to appreciate that and to get involved with all of that, I think is just so meaningful. So at my work there, I hope to be a lifer. I really do at Legal Aid.
So let's talk a little bit about advice. What kind of advice would you give a young Sarah?
Protect your peace. I think about that a lot. And I think, you've got to find some line for everyone talks about boundaries, but you do. And sometimes you don't know until you feel like that boundary was crossed, or that little voice was like, that's not actually what you wanted to agree to, or that's not exactly the step that you wanted to take. But I think as you get older and you get more confident and saying, that's not what I want to do right now. We talk about that with the SHE seminars a lot with the Women in Business Council, of saying, I'm going to get back to you. And that's okay to take a pause if you get an invitation, because everybody wants to say yes in the moment. You want to. It makes everybody feel good. But when you walk away and you say, man, I really don't have time for that, or I can't give that my best effort, to say, I'm going to check my calendar, let me get back to you, makes such a difference. So I think protecting your peace, taking a moment to check in, is this thing in line with your goals? Is it in line with your values? And do you have time for it? Because we've all been at that meeting where you are like, I really should just be at home in my pajamas. And for me, it shows up on my face and people are like, oh, she doesn't want to be here. And that's a terrible feeling. So trying to avoid that by protecting your peace and being very intentional about the steps you want to take.
So we have to plug Leadership Palm Beach County, because that's how I met you.
Of course.
Right. So we've both been through the program.
Yes.
Talk about Leadership Palm Beach County, and how did that impact you in as a person?
So I have to go back actually to high school, because I was a high school participant. And at the time, I think it was Palm Beach County Youth Leadership. It's now the GROW program, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But it was the same idea of taking 2 juniors from every high school in Palm Beach County. I remember Ag Day. I remember going out there and farming the radishes, and so much less development had happened. So driving all the way out to the western edges of our county felt like you were driving across the state. It just was miles and miles of agriculture. Joining the class and being part of the most powerful class of 2020 was life-changing. We were the COVID class. Our year got suspended, our spring, because of COVID. And in a way, it was just such a unifying factor. I'm on a text thread with, I think it's 35 other members, all very type A, all very engaged in the community. But when someone says, hey, I need you guys to show up, we show up, and it's just supportive. They've been so supportive of Sarah Slow Jam as I was launching it, just as our year was kind of winding up because of the pandemic. But it's incredible, and I know that some of my friends and classmates. You had Alyssa Freeman on, you had Kate Ariza.
Yeah.
It's a spectacular opportunity to meet people you may not meet otherwise who are performing at such a high level, and then you have this bond, and they will pick up the phone for you. You will pick up the phone for them. And again, coming back to community, it just makes our community that much tighter when we have those bonds.
That's a pretty powerful class. I have had 3 of you guys on the show. I didn't realize that till you just said that now.
There's a reason we're the most powerful class. Well, it's cool. It's cool. We didn't make that happen at all. It's fine.
Yeah, you get no pressure. No, not at all. Well, you are absolutely amazing. We could not be more proud of what you're doing. Thank you for your work in the community. You're really doing some impactful work. And as a business owner, I mean, we love you, and we want to continue to see you grow. And we're here to support you. Before we go, we got to talk about Sarah Slow Jam, Pineapple Island Company. Where can they get more information on that?
Absolutely. So each has their own website.
Okay.
www.sarahslowjam.com. I'm the only one out there. And also pineappleislandcompany.com. So they both are e-commerce sites, which is an easy way to always access them. And on the Sarah Slow Jam website includes a list of all the places that it's sold, including Palm Beach Meats down in West Palm Beach, the stores I mentioned earlier, the Cheese Shop in Boynton, Insurers Chocolate, Loggerhead, Marine Life Center. And I'm very excited that as of last week, we expanded and we're at Plum Market in Aventura. So our first out-of-county placement. And we're hoping just to keep growing, and ask your local grocers, and when they get that feedback that their customers want this, it's very powerful. So we are definitely looking to expand.
Well, Plum Market, is coming to our neighborhood. They're coming up north. They're coming up Palm Beach North region. They're new members and great little market. We're excited to get them in town. So
they seem
exciting.
Wonderful. Walking through the market in Aventura, they're so supportive of a lot of Palm Beach County businesses, which is incredible. I mean, you've got Palm Beach salt, Palm Beach creamed honey. I don't know if you know La Gringuita cookies, but walking and seeing your friends' businesses there it's a really special feeling, and to know that you're partnering with a business that really believes in supporting local and small businesses.
Awesome. Well, Sarah, thanks again. Thank you so much for being on the show. Really appreciate you. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been a great show. Sarah was absolutely awesome. We look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Thanks again to our presenting sponsor, Jupiter Medical Center, for your support. Make sure to share, like, follow, tell everybody about all the amazing things going on in Palm Beach North. Thank you. We'll see you soon.